you for tuning into episode 15 of Pushing the Pylon. This is your host, Jim Tannhauser, and what a wacky weekend of wildcard football we had this past weekend. That was a tongue twister. Wacky wildcard weekend. Wacky wildcard weekend. Well, it makes sense at least this week. We had a full slate of games, even covering Monday, our first ever Monday Night Football playoff game. And it was a really good one. Was it surprising? For some more than others, just like all the other games. We're going to cover each and every one of those playoff games on this episode. We're going to talk about next week's playoff games that you're going to be seeing this episode coming out with. And I'm going to give you my predictions on that. A lot of ones I like out there. There's, I think, one game that it's a toss-up. I'm not too sure who I like yet, and I'm going to decide in real time on this podcast. If you haven't yet already, make sure to like and subscribe, just like all the other YouTubers and all the other social media stars say out there. But it really does help. Like this page, share the video, let everyone know that knows about football. Comment on this, tell me where I'm wrong, tell me where I'm right. And we're going to have a good discussion from here on out. Going into the first playoff game, we had the Cincinnati Bengals hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, going into this game, there has never been an accurate text message sent out in the history of humans and mankind that said the Cincinnati Bengals won a playoff game. That's because the Bengals' last win came in 1991 in the playoffs, texting invented in 1992. Did we see that history broken? Spoiler alert, yes we did. The Cincinnati Bengals, led by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, won 26-19. The game came down to the wire at the end. Derek Carr had a chance to lead the boys down the field to tie it up. Wasn't the case, however. And the Bengals go home happy. Joe Burrow, ridiculously efficient game, 24 for 34, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, which is gigantic in the playoffs, as you all know, especially for a young quarterback and a young team. Their Rookie of the Year, who should be the clear-cut, bar none Rookie of the Year, Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 116 yards. And you know what? Derek Carr threw for over 300 yards. He did have a pick, only 1 touchdown, but admirable game from Derek Carr. He's certainly not the reason the Raiders didn't make it. They had a really rough year, I think, with all the turmoil and controversy off the field. I don't think there was really a way for them to become that Cinderella team that, you know, some of these other lower record teams had a chance to become. And this was just a good game throughout. You know, it was a good warm-up into the wild card weekend for me. This was a pick we had. This was 1-0. We thought we were rolling real good. And then we go into our second game where the New England Patriots went to Buffalo to play a rubber match against the Buffalo Bills this year. We saw the first game. New England came to Buffalo. Crazy weather, crazy wind. Everything and anything happened weather-wise, and it was a low-scoring Patriots win. Now, if you remember, on this very podcast on Pushing the Pylon, I said to not take much stock into that game because of the weather. That doesn't tell you who the best roster is. That doesn't tell you can execute the best in a regular situation. So they played again, and they played a couple weeks ago. And what did we see there? We saw exactly what we saw in this playoff game, as a matter of fact. It was a good indicator. And that one was even more close, but the Bills won 33-21. That was the day after Christmas. So going into this one, you'd think that I would be the one to say, of course Buffalo's going to win. That first game didn't mean anything. That's the logic I was using. And the second game meant more, and Buffalo won. I picked New England like a bozo, and New England lost 47-17. This was, I believe, the biggest playoff loss of Belichick's career. Third biggest loss total of Bill Belichick's career, all of which came to the Buffalo Bills, by the way. And it was the Josh Allen show. He only had 4 incompletions. He threw 5 touchdowns. That's an insane stat in itself. 21 for 25, 308 yards, 5 touchdowns. Dawson Knox caught the first 2 touchdowns for Buffalo. He had an insane game. 5 catches, 89 yards with those pair of touchdowns. Mac Jones, 24 for 38, 232, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. One of those picks early in the game. Watching it back, it didn't seem to be his fault. It seemed to be a pretty fair to very good throw, somewhere in that range. And the defense made a ridiculous play. That's credit to Buffalo there. But Mac Jones, I like to call him Mid Jones because, he doesn't do a lot to make your team lose. He won't be the reason the Patriots lose games. But is he the reason the Patriots win games? I don't think so. It was their defense early in the year. Then they found an identity with the run game. And Mac Jones just is there to kind of be the glue. And, yeah, you may say that's an important piece to a team. Sure, it can be. But I just can't encourage or even entertain the debates with Mac Jones being a top quarterback in the league or a top even rookie quarterback in the league. Yeah, I have the bias hat on to clearly show it, but Trevor Lawrence naturally just shows better mechanics and is much more gifted than Mac Jones. If you put Trevor Lawrence on these Patriots, they go 10-7 or better, certainly, without a doubt, in my mind. And even Kendrick Bourne for the Patriots, 7 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. That seems like someone I think the Pats should keep around for a receiver. That's always a useful utility kind of guy to have out there. He shouldn't ever be your number one, but New England can definitely go find a number one and keep him at the same time, I think. Buffalo Bills, though, what can you say about the Buffalo Bills? They prove they can score almost 50 points on a good defense like New England's. Some may think New England's defense is better than others. I thought they were slightly overrated, but still good. They got flat out exposed in this game. And the Bills are going to need to show that next. They go and play the Chiefs right after this. So that 47-point game, they may need to replicate the 47-point game unless their defense can contain Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, which hasn't seemed to be that common when the Chiefs play. So as far as we're concerned, record-wise, we were 1-1 after Saturday. Then coming into Sunday, we had the Eagles-Bucks. Bucks won 31-15. The score actually seemed closer than the game was. Bucks obliterated them, I thought. There wasn't really a point where I thought Philly even had a chance to tie it, let alone win the game. Tom Brady, 29 for 37, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans had a great game, 9 catches, $117 for a touchdown. Keyshawn Vaughn ended up being the lead back with 17 carries and a touchdown. Hopefully get Leonard Fournette back for their sakes so they can get one healthy player back. Losing AB the way they did, losing Godwin with injury like they did. And in this game, they lost 2 offensive linemen that eventually came back, but at one moment you were wondering if Tom Brady was going to have to do it without his offensive linemen too. Ryan Jensen went down, but that was after Tristan Wirfs went down before him. Both seemed to come back, and they both seem to be good to go for the rest of the playoff run, you'd assume. Jalen Hurts, he did all right. 258 yards, a touchdown, a pair of picks. Ran for another 39 yards on 8 carries. Is he a great starting quarterback? I don't think so right now. Is he going to be the Eagles' quarterback? Yes, he will be. There's no reason to go out and draft another quarterback. I don't think there's anyone in this draft that's going to be better than Jalen Hurts in a reasonable time frame. I just don't think Jalen Hurts the one holding the Eagles back. I think the Eagles have a lot of other deeper and more core issues than their quarterback. I mean, Gardner Minshew stepped in against the Cowboys, and yeah, they got obliterated, but I don't even think Minshew did that bad. Either of these quarterbacks are just, neither of them are these elite, great quarterbacks that you can rely on every week. But again, kind of like Mac Jones, they're probably not going to be the one losing you the game. You can point to 3 or 4 other factors that caused the Eagles to lose to the Bucs. One, they're just simply outmanned. Even an injured Bucs team outmans the Eagles in terms of star power, offensive firepower, defensive aggression, defensive execution. The Bucs check off all those boxes where the Eagles just tend to be lacking. They're caught, right? I mean, the Eagles, the big win of a season for them. They weren't expected to even make the playoffs. They made the playoffs. They get a high draft pick from other circumstances. So, yeah, it's a win. And the whole Carson Wentz situation is where they got that first from, by the way. But good for the Eagles. And this is a step in the right direction. If they can have a good offseason, a good draft, they can catch the playoffs again. I don't see why they couldn't if they could this year. This year seemed like a year they wouldn't at all, and they did. And we're going to get into the Cowboys in a second, but as someone who constantly talks up and hypes up the Cowboys like I admittedly do, the Eagles aren't that far away from competing with the Cowboys, especially in terms of playoff execution, because the Cowboys don't have that. As many of you know, they completely showed they didn't have it this week. And we'll hop right into that. We had the Cowboys and 49ers. Cowboys lost by 6, but I'll tell you what. If this game ended 23-6 or 23-7, it would have been possibly more accurate and good representation of the game. 10-0 early on from San Fran. They scored right on the first drive. It was with Elijah Mitchell. Cowboys just didn't seem ready. They seemed nervous. A lot of penalties, a lot of giving up third downs to the 49er offense when they had no reason to. A lot of third and longs, may I add, they gave up. And that's just unacceptable. You're a home team. It's up to this point in the playoffs, every home team won. So you were the first home team to lose in the playoffs. You end up being the only team that hosted a home game and lost in the first round of the playoffs. And I just don't know what to make of it anymore. To me, and I tweeted this out on my main account, at Hauser Jr., if you ever want to follow that, I said the Cowboys may be the most garbage roster of superstars I have ever seen assembled, because these guys just can't execute. They can't win the game. You want to blame coaching. You want to blame Jerry Jones. You want to blame personnel or injuries or refs, sure, but at the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys just do not execute in the playoffs, in my lifetime anyway, and I'm 27 years old. The Cowboys have won how many they've won less playoff games than the Jaguars. And the Jaguars have only been to the playoffs twice, and just because they made 2 AFC championship runs both years. The Cowboys don't even do that half the time. They just lose in the first or second round. It's tragic. You have Dak Prescott, easily a top 10 quarterback. I'm not debating that with anybody. Easily a top 10 quarterback. You have Ezekiel Elliott, easily, in my opinion, a top 5 running back. Some people say top 10, whatever. He's an elite running back. If you think he's not an elite running back, watch the tape. Stop box score watching. Watch the tape. This man is elite. He's an elite back. He has it in him. And even if you don't think he's elite, they have Tony Pollard to back him up. So their run game is very deep, very healthy, and very dangerous. The receiving core, you have Amari Cooper, one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. He's a superstar. You lost Michael Gallup a couple weeks ago, sure, but you still have this sophomore phenom, CeeDee Lamb. Teams would die to have CeeDee Lamb as their number 1, and you have him as your number 2. And the way you use Dalton Schultz this game, 7 catches, 89 yards, he's your number 2 receiver, Dalton Schultz. So they are blessed on offense. Their defense just had a Trayvon Diggs come out and nearly break interception records in NFL history. You have your DeMarcus Lawrences, you have your Leighton Vander Esch's. You're just so deep and healthy in these vital positions to win. You bring in a Super Bowl winning coach, Mike McCarthy. Kellen Moore is what people are debating is one of the best offensive coordinators in the game. A quarterback whisperer, if you will, along with Byron Leftwich. And you can't beat the San Francisco 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo and Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel playing 2 positions for him because they don't even have enough people? And you lose to them at home? I don't know how you defend that anymore. I really don't. I like the Cowboys roster. It's so stacked. If you took away all the biases of choking and lack of performance and just put out every team's roster on paper and handed it out, a lot of people are going to take Dallas as first, and the rest of them are going to take Dallas as second, third, or fourth. There's a spoiling amount of talent on that offense and defense in that roster period. Just for Ezekiel Elliott to have 12 carries and 31 yards in the biggest game of these guys' careers almost. Dak Prescott out here throwing for 254 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, a QBR of 27. Jimmy Garoppolo had a QBR of 68. It's not even like he went off. 172 yards, 0 touchdowns. The opposing team's quarterback threw 0 touchdowns, and you lost. You know it's bad when a Jaguars fan's sitting here feeling terrible for the Dallas Cowboys. I truly do. At least with the Jaguars, they're just missing pieces. They're just missing the tools needed to get to that level. The Cowboys have, beyond those tools, they have enough tools to be a dynasty in this NFL league. Or this NFL, whatever you want. And they're just doing this. It's sad. It's sad. No, Mike McCarthy's job is not in danger. No, Jerry Jones isn't selling the team anytime soon, but they got to figure it out because that team, that franchise is just too storied and too... It carries too much of a legacy and reputation for it to just be embarrassed like this by a middle-of-the-road quarterback and a receiving core that no one had 70 yards receiving over. George Kittle, their superstar on offense, had 1 catch for 18 yards. That's it. If you tell the Cowboys you hold George Kittle to 1 catch, you hold all the receivers under 70 yards, you hold Garoppolo under 200 yards, you don't even let Garoppolo throw a touchdown, and you force a pick out of him, the Cowboys coaches and players are asking if they even need to play their starters because that seems easy. And they lost by 6. I mean, I don't mean to sound like Stephen A., but it's just unbelievable, those Dallas Cowboys and the choke job they do. It hurts. It's annoying. That team needs to be a Super Bowl team, but instead we get Tom Brady going around, and this team should be able to compete with the Bucs. This team should be able to hold off Aaron Rodgers from getting to a Super Bowl. This team should be at the Super Bowl going against Pat Mahomes to make sure he doesn't win his second Super Bowl in 3 years. But guess what? They're home. But they didn't have to go home. They were already home. That's the sad part. The NFL did them a favor. Let them get really good. Guess what? You can host a home game just so when you embarrass and let everyone down, you can just drive home. You don't even need to take the plane. Great. Thank you, NFL. Roger Goodell looking out for the Cowboys. Look at that. And that last play of the game, it's been dissected, but I don't hate the play call of Dak Prescott scrambling in there. But you just have to slide earlier. Dak has to know you need X amount of seconds to spike the ball. And he was 1 second away. So he got really greedy on that run. He could have took 5 yards back, would have probably had 3 extra seconds. Cowboys have a chance, to throw one more bomb there from a realistic position. But they didn't, and now the San Francisco 49ers get to go play the Green Bay Packers. It would have been the Bucs if the Cowboys won, but what are you going to do? So after all that craziness went on, we had a Sunday night football game. We had the Steelers-Chiefs went exactly how most people predicted. Chiefs blew them out. They doubled their score, 42-21. Patrick Mahomes, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. Travis Kelce over 100 yards and a touchdown. This is the offense that people are going to have to stop in the playoffs if they want to knock off the Chiefs. And I don't see anybody in the AFC that can do it. The Bills are the only ones, and they play them next week. So, to me, next week's the AFC Championship. And that's going to offend Titans fans and Bengals fans. But I don't think they can beat the Chiefs. Not in the playoffs. The Bengals beat them once. That's great. To do it again, I don't know. I don't think it can be done. It can be done. I don't think it will be done. That's the better way I should put that. Ben Roethlisberger's last game of his career, though, 29 for 44, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, respectable effort. For a long time in that game, the offense wasn't doing anything. Scoreless first quarter for both teams, and then the Steelers put up 1 touchdown each quarter after that. Najee Harris, 12 carries, 29 yards. Doesn't look good, but obviously they weren't going to run the ball much against the Chiefs when they started off down, going down big anyway. What I don't get, though, is when the Chiefs had the first score of the game, they didn't get Najee Harris more carries. They had T.J. Watt run back a fumble return for a touchdown, go up 7-zip. And then the Chiefs get the ball, score 5 minutes later. and somehow the Chiefs scored 2 more times in that quarter. Where's the run game? I don't know. 12 carries just isn't enough for that offense. I know it's Big Ben's last game, but you're not going to give him a chance to win when you can't control. You have to control the clock against the Chiefs. You can't let Mahomes go on the field enough times to throw 5 touchdowns. That just can't happen. But hey, the Steelers got in the playoffs. That's a big accomplishment for them this year. They really probably weren't supposed to. They probably took the spot of what most people assumed were going to be the Ravens or the Browns, or even the Chargers for that matter. But no, props to the Steelers. Props to Ben Roethlisberger going out a playoff postseason quarterback. First ballot Hall of Famer. We all know that. And he lost to a future GOAT at quarterback, so, it's no skin off his back. Losing to Patrick Mahomes is hardly a disappointment. It's inevitable for most quarterbacks and for most teams, especially in Kansas City in the playoffs in the first round. It's like playing LeBron. It's just dominance and greatness, and good luck. You hope you get someone else in that situation. Going to the Monday night game, it was Cardinals-Rams. Rams completely flew past the Cardinals there. No pun intended, but sounded good. 34-11, Rams on top. There was really no point in this game where it looked like the Cardinals had a chance. Rams hopped out early and with an Odell touchdown in the first quarter. They ended up putting up 2 more touchdowns before half. It was 21-0 at half. And it was a quiet offensive game, really. I think it was really good field position for the Rams. Only 200 yards from Stafford, only 58 rushing yards from Sony Michel. Cooper Kupp only 61 yards and 5 catches. Kyler Murray only 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a terrible performance from him, but I'm not going to be as critical of him as the rest of the media is. I didn't expect the Cardinals to win this game. It's just their window is just open. They're a young team. DeAndre Hopkins wasn't even playing for them, one of the best receivers in the NFL. They're number 1. I don't hold it against them for losing. They go on the road. They play the Rams, their division rival, who went all in this year, traded all their draft picks for Von Miller, got Odell Beckham. A couple years ago, got Jalen Ramsey in there, got Matt Stafford this year. Sony Michel they got this year. And then they had Cam Akers back that's been injured all year. So, yeah, it seemed like the Rams game to win, and sure enough, they did. Cardinals will have plenty of more chances over the next few years to make a playoff run. The Rams, maybe next year besides this year, but after that, they're all in. They got to win these games. And for them next week to go and play the Tampa Bay Bucks, it's going to be a fun one. I was going to say third time they played this year, but that's not true. They did play this year. I believe the Rams won by 10. So Brady revenge game. That's the scariest corner to put Brady in. We'll see how it goes, though. And speaking of, let's go cover that right now. We'll work our way from Saturday into Sunday's games, with the first game at 4:30 on Saturday being the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Nashville to play the Titans. Titans are 3.5-point favorites. From what I'm hearing, Derrick Henry's back. On the 22nd, number 22 is going to play. And I think what they said is the Titans' 22nd playoff, something like that, where number 22 is coming up often. Derrick Henry's in that game. That's going to be so tough for the Bengals. I don't know. I don't know how they stop an angry, motivated, and rested Derrick Henry that just cyborged an injury that should have sidelined him the whole year and would have sidelined 98% of humans for more than a season in football. So I do think Joe Burrow is going to play well on the road. It's going to be tough for him to come out with a win. First instinct, I like the Bengals plus 3.5. I still like the Bengals to keep it close. Whether they win or lose is one thing. I think they're the better team right now. I think they're the hotter team for sure right now. The Bengals could win the game, but you're giving me 3.5. I feel that's very safe. Titans can win this game by a field goal, and both go home happy in that situation. So mark me down as the Bengals plus 3.5. The night game Saturday night is the Packers hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Packers minus 5.5. Aaron Rodgers' first playoff game. He is still PO'd. If you watch the Pat McAfee show at all, this guy is just pissed that the media is coming after him the way they are. And the way all these critics, the COVID situation, and how he's treating the locker room situations. And he's fed up with it. And I think we're going to get a very angry Aaron Rodgers coming out. I think we're going to see Aaron Rodgers huck 3 to 4 touchdowns in this win. Definitely one to Devontae Adams, so lock that prop up if you can. Responsibly, of course, if you do. I'm going to go Packers minus 5.5 here. I think they beat up on the 49ers. 49ers are a good team. I'm not saying they're going to lose by 30 or even 28 here. But Packers by double digits, I think we get that. Maybe a 28-17 game. I'll take the Packers to move on. So then we go into Sunday, where the first game is the future opponent of the 49ers-Packers winner. It's a 3 o'clock game. Tampa Bay Bucks hosting the LA Rams. Bucks are minus 3 here. It's hard to pick against Tom Brady, isn't it? I'm finding myself in this situation here. And this was the hard game I had when I was talking earlier in the podcast episode during the intro. I'm not sure who I'm picking here because the Rams, like I said, they're all in. I love putting my chips on a team that is all in, ready to go, win or die mentality. I think that suits them well in this game. Brady has that mentality too, right? Where every season could be his last at this point. Bucks are banged up though. Do we see another Brady AFC Championship run here? I'm going to say no, but I will take the Rams plus 3 in case it's close. But I think the Rams win this one. Don't tell people until you watch this podcast, though. Shh. I'm going to put it on TikTok. I'm going to make a video about it. We're taking the Rams in an upset. Next week on the podcast, if I got this wrong, we're going to ignore this segment. But hey, Rams plus 3. I don't know. They could keep that close, or it could just be a really high-scoring game if you think that's safer. That's for you, but here we're going to go with another underdog pick like we did with the Bengals. Rams plus 3. Finally, Sunday night, the game of the week, in my opinion. 6:30 kickoff on CBS. Already feels like a Super Bowl preview. Even though they can't play in the Super Bowl, these two teams. The Bills and the Chiefs. What a game. What a star-powered duel this could be. Chiefs are minus 1.5 only, basically a pick 'em. And if you know how I've been this year with how I feel about the Chiefs, you know I'm taking them here. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a very fun game if you're not a fan of either team like I'm not. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game too. Does that mean the over is going to hit? I don't know because the over is probably inflated. It's 54. That seems a little pumped up there. It could still hit, but I'm going to stick with the Chiefs minus 1.5. I think that team is poised to make a Super Bowl run. I'm telling you, Mahomes is the real deal. Beal, McGill, Steele, whatever you want to call him. That Bills defense is for real. That Bills offense is for real. That Bills team in general is for real. Sean McDermott's a fantastic coach. But I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to say it's a final score of something like 31-27. And then we get the Chiefs against the winner of the Bengals-Titans the week after. That'd be fun. So, yeah, we picked 2 favorites. We picked 2 dogs. We got the Bengals plus 3.5. The Packers minus 5.5. The Rams plus 3. And the Chiefs minus 1.5. They seem like solid picks there. Do I feel great about them? I feel all right about them. I had a good year with picks. As those of you who have been following our pages with our picks every Sunday know, we've done decent this year. And last week in the playoffs, what was that record added up total? We had the Bengals was a winner, Pats was a loser. That's 1-1. Bucks winner, 49ers loser, Chiefs winner, Rams winner. 3-2, not bad. I'm looking to go even better, divisional round, and so forth. But in the meantime, as always, this is Pushing the Pylon, episode 15. If you haven't yet at the start of the episode, make sure you do it now before the video ends. Like this page, subscribe, share your video on other social medias, follow Pushing the Pylon on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, and now TikTok. I'm looking to make some more funny videos on there. Send me some ideas. Send me questions I can answer on TikTok, and we can have debates on there. That would be fun. But in the meantime, make sure to get a comfy couch for this weekend of football. This may be the best weekend of football of the entire playoffs. We had last week. It could be better than last week. And then we only have the week after, we only have conference championship weekend with a couple games. And it's the big one game. And it's a great game, but it's only one game. So they have 4 more games on the weekend. Appreciate it while you can, because during the summer this year, while you're out, by a bonfire, you're out on the lake, or you're doing whatever during the summer, you're going to sit there and say, damn, I can't wait for football to come back. This is that time. You be grateful for it and soak it all in while you have it. Make sure you do it now just like I am. Thank you for watching as always. See you again soon. Take it easy.